Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to I believe this is the fourth town hall meeting that we've had. We're having them in different places throughout the city. We've had one at Tributary, one at Chapel Hill, one at Arbor Station. And this one we're having, as you all know that are present tonight, that it's at Heritage Baptist Church right downtown Douglasville. This will conclude, well, we had one also at Jesse Davis Park last night, so this is the fourth one. We'll have one more, which will be 5, and it will be October the 4th, and it will be downtown Douglasville at 10:30 on October the 4th, and it's for the business, certainly for anybody that would like to come, but we're having it during the day so that businesses that are downtown can come and attend and ask questions and talk about what we're doing in Douglasville. Purpose of the meeting is to reach out to each individual community, give you an opportunity to talk to your elected officials, and then also for us to listen to comments or questions that you may have about what's going on within your community. It was one of the things that I campaigned on, that we would use all the mediums that we could to contact and stay in touch with our individual citizens as well as each individual community within our city. So that is what we're doing tonight. And let me give you an idea of what the format will be. I'll cover several different topics for about 20 minutes or so, make some introductions of the city staff that's here tonight, and then also we will then open it up for questions. So before we get started, I'd like to make some introductions. First of all, we have Councilman Mark Adams with us tonight. Glad to have you with us and his lovely bride. I don't think we have any other elected officials with us tonight. Next thing, our staff, we have City Manager Bill Osborne. Bill, you've had how many years experience you got in city government with the city?
Including being a consultant, about 28.
28. Been with the city of Douglasville 22 years, has a wealth of knowledge and experience as it relates to city government and government as a whole. Very passionate, very dedicated, very committed to the city, and we certainly thank you for that. Next thing we have, or the next person, not thing, but next person, sorry about that. Next person I'll introduce is our Chief, Chris Womack. Have him here with us tonight. Chief started with us right out of the Marine Corps. Well, first of all, grew up in Douglasville, graduated from Douglas County High School, went off to the Marine Corps for 4 years, got out of the Marine Corps, came back to Douglasville, went to work with the city of Douglasville as a police officer, then went to school, got his bachelor's degree, then went on to get his master's degree in public administration and worked his way up to chief. So a lot of hard work, a lot of effort went into that. And you've got 23 years with the city now. Very passionate, dedicated, and committed to the job and what he does. Very committed to the community, part of the community. Next person we have is Jeff Knowles. Jeff is here as our, Jeff wears a couple of hats. He's our City Development Authority director now, as well as the city's engineer. Also responsible for overseeing the building of the downtown conference center, as well as he oversaw the building of the public safety facility that we now have on Highway 92, which I hope most of you have seen. Jeff does have a little baggage, but we're working through that. Jeff's a Georgia Tech graduate, but I say that tongue-in-cheek. We're glad to have Jeff, and he has that background and that degree from Georgia Tech, which certainly fares well with the job that he does. But we do have some discussions sometimes about school affiliation. I haven't been able to get him converted yet, but we're still working on it. But glad to have him here tonight. We also have with us Kelly Hunter. Kelly started City TV, which you will be able to watch this meeting live, or well, it won't be live, but we're televised or we're not broadcasting. We're actually taping it, and then you'll be able to see it via City TV on Channel 22, which is Comcast. Kelly started City TV back in '07, so it's actually been active now for 5 years. Kelly started it from scratch, and we had how many cameras when you started it? 0. So City TV has evolved quite a bit over the years to the TV program venue that it is now. As a matter of fact, and I say this at each one of the town hall meetings, I brag on City TV and Kelly and her group quite a bit. Give you an idea how good City TV is and the job that it does. There's an association called GMA. It's Georgia Municipal Association, and it has a membership of approximately 500 and some odd cities around Georgia. We have an annual convention in Savannah every year, at which time there's somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 people present. They have an opening session that starts on Saturday mornings after we've already been through several training classes and things on Friday once we get there. City TV goes down there to interview, talk to, and put together the opening video that is broadcast for the opening session of GMA. It's quite a bit. They have a screen that's about the size of a football field, and there's somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 people in this giant auditorium when the opening session video is displayed. GMA pays all of City TV's lodging, all their expenses to go down there and put this together, and this is the 4th year running that they've done that. Now, they can get anybody or any city that has a TV group to put it together, but this is the 4th year that they've asked Douglasville's City TV to come down and put this together. So tells you a little bit about the expertise that they have. Kelly, you want to introduce Stephen?
Steve is running our cameras and sound for us tonight. Steve Jones is running our cameras and sound for us, and then we also have Jason Post and Nathan Todd, who we actually let them have the week off for vacation.
You know, I keep telling city employees that this thing called vacation and lunches is highly overrated, but I haven't got them quite convinced of that yet. But that, let's see, who did I miss anyone? City staff, employees. We have also with us tonight a city employee, Jenny, and she's turning red. She's blushing. But we have with us Jenny Zembruski, who is my assistant, that it'd be a struggle to do what I do on a daily basis without her help and assistance, and she'll probably agree to that. But she does a great job. She's been with the city 2 years, 3 years now?
December 2008.
So almost 4 years. She has with her tonight her husband. So we're glad to have all of you here with us tonight. And I have my bride with me tonight. She's really blushing. But she said she didn't come as my wife. She came as a resident of downtown Douglasville. This is the town hall meeting that's closest to her, so she wanted to come, see what was said, and may have a question or two. So glad to have all of you tonight. Now, tell you a little bit about the format, what we're going to do. I've got several items we're going to talk about very briefly, and then want to open it up to you for questions and comments, because we came to hear what you have to say, answer any questions that you may have about your city government. And it truly is your city, your government, and we want to listen to what you have to say. We're going to talk about finance, public safety, transportation, economic development, and city-county cooperation. And when we get to each topic, I'll open it up for someone from staff to talk a little bit more about it, and then certainly we'll open it up for Councilman Adams if he has any comments that he'd like to make as we go along. Finance. Well, first of all, Councilman Adams is the chairman of our finance committee and does a great job with that and helping manage the city's finances and resources. Tell you a little bit about what we did this year. most of you probably don't have a problem with your with your home budget, probably are flush with cash, have more than enough money to go around and don't have to worry about a budget. That's not the case, I'm sure. We as a city are no different. We have limited resources, limited amounts of money that we have to deal with. We're all familiar with the economy and what's going on with the economy. So we worked with Mr. Osborne is challenged with putting a budget together, then with the help of staff, and then City Council, Finance Committee, Mayor, then work with him to approve the budget that's put together. One of the things that I challenged Mr. Osborne to do this year is to make sure that we kept spending within the range of what we could operate within, and if possible, even have a reduction in the budget. He was able to do that. We had a 9% decrease in budget over last year, but we wanted to do that to make sure that we were being good stewards of the resources that you give us to operate with, and that is the monies as well as the assets that you entrust us to manage. Had a 9% decrease. We were able to keep the same millage rate that we had last year, which is a 3.854. We did not have an increase in taxes. We were able to keep the budget in line, reduce expenses, but to continue to give you the services that you want, need, and expect. Takes good, solid fiscal management. I am a fiscal conservative. That's something that I ran on, and we will continue to work to give you the services that you need and be good stewards of the monies that you give us to operate with. Councilman Adams, as Finance Committee Chair, anything you want to add to that?
Only, Mayor, I appreciate the opportunity just to be here, being a part of the ward that I serve in. And I'm on a real quick learning curve, and I'm not that fast a learner, so bear with me as I try to help to oversee the finances of the city and learn as much as I can about that. I'm amazed at just how much is involved. The folks that sort of tutored me when I decided to run didn't tell me everything. But we'll talk about that at another time. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to work with the city that I love, that I've lived here my entire life. And if there's anything that I can do for anyone within the ward, my number's in the phone book, and I'll be glad to talk with you if you have questions afterwards. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Adams was being very modest in that he's a slow learner in the learning curve. Don't let him kid you. He jumped in, picked it up, and has been a tremendous asset to the city, to the council, and with me as well as staff. Stop for just a second. We had another council member come in, Councilman Dennis McLean. Councilman McLean brings a wealth of experience to the city and the council. Councilman McLean, this is your, what, 6th year or on the council? 7th year. Councilman McLean's going into his 7th year on the council, is a tremendous asset to the city with a good, solid background in business, as well as a very level head, very good reasoning, and is a tremendous asset. Glad to have you with us tonight also. Like I said, I'm going to go through these topics, and then we'll open it up, and you can have questions. We'll work to answer any questions you may have on any of the topics or anything else. But then if there's anything that we don't have the answers to, we'll get you answers to them. I'll assure you that. Next item is public safety. Give you just some quick information on public safety. As you know, we have a new public safety facility, which is state-of-the-art. We're very excited to have that. That was completed. We've been in it, Chief, 2 years, 3 years? Year and a half now. So that was done, and we're very proud to have that facility. The chief made some comments, and he'll get up here and reiterate, because I'm going to turn it over to him in just a minute. About a week or so ago in the paper, you read where we had some folks come out here from other areas, Atlanta metropolitan area somewhere, came out to here, committed some pretty atrocious crimes, but within a very short period of time, few days, they were caught. And I believe they're still some of them are still in jail, as a matter of fact. Chief made some comments in the newspaper that if you're going to come out here and break the law, not do right, we're going to arrest you, put you in jail. We don't apologize for that. Then the next week, we had something come up where we had a particular establishment that was violating some of our ordinances as it relates to serving to underage minors and some other activities that were going on that broke the law, broke the city's ordinances, and we dealt with that. I made the comment during the council meeting that you need to know and understand that we embrace people that come from other communities that want to come out here and live, work, raise their families, and have a safe environment. We are going to ensure that you have that, and we're going to work to do our best to see that you do get that. We make no apologies about it. We want it truly known and understand that we want a safe environment for our community, for you as the residents to be able to live, work, play, and raise your family. I'm going to let the chief get up here and talk a little bit more about the police department and his commitment and our commitment to provide you with a safe community. But before I do, I'll brag a little bit on the police department. The chief has a command staff of 8 that is really the management group. They call it the command staff. And of that 8, 7 of them have a master's degree, most of which they earned and attained while being employees of the city of Douglasville while they worked, but then had the commitment and the dedication to continue with their education so that they could be better and more proficient and more professional at the jobs that they do. So we're very fortunate to have them and have that commitment. And we pass that commitment on to you because we want to ensure that you're going to have the safety that you want and deserve. Chief, you want to come up and share a little bit about the police department, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Chris Womack. First off, I want to tell you, especially where we're standing tonight, how blessed I feel to be standing here as your chief of police. And for some of y'all that knew me growing up, you'd say, Womack, you better get up there and thank your blessings, because we can't believe it either. I grew up right back here in the fairways on Western Pines Drive, and some of you in this room may have made calls on my driving habits when I was a younger man. Tend to drive a little faster than I should have, but things were a lot different back in those days. But I do feel very fortunate, on a serious note, to be placed in the position of authority that I've been put in charge of, going on 4 years now. We've got 94 sworn at the city police department, and then we have about another 25 civilian employees that I can't give those folks enough credit. They're not in it for the paycheck. They're in it because they love what they do. They're dedicated servants. And hardly a day goes by that I don't get an email or a phone call bragging on how they went out of their way to go above and beyond and provide a level of service that I'm proud that we're able to offer here in Douglasville. One thing that I also want to mention is we do try to attract people that come back home. I think that's important when people are invested in their community. I know for me personally, this is where I was raised. I have no intentions of moving to Alabama or further west. This is where I'm going to stay. I have my roots planted here, and hopefully my kids will decide to raise their families here. So what I want to promise you as the citizens here in Douglasville is that I am committed to you. One thing that's really changed about our job when I started back in the late 80s is we had the same 30, 40 guys we arrested over and over and over. We had a relationship with those people. They knew us. We knew them. We knew the ones that was going to fight us when we showed up. We knew the ones that we didn't even have to put handcuffs on. Just open the door for them. They're going to get in. Let's take the ride and go do what we got to do. But as the mayor was alluding to about some comments that was made a week or so ago, things are different out here. The element that we deal with today is a different breed. They're much more violent. Brought up a lot different than the way I was brought up. On that note, before I get sidetracked, I want to tell you, I want to brag about somebody real quick, and that's my city manager, Mr. Osborne. And he's been one of those that's been right beside me and watched me grow up doing what I love doing. And we do have a great relationship. The man's not a workhorse; he's a work stallion. And I stand in amazement sometimes at the hours he puts in. And it's funny. Yeah, it ain't funny at the time now when it's going on, when I'm afraid he's fixing to take his belt off to me and wear me out. And usually I've got it coming. And then he'll have to say, Chris, now if I needed your help, I'd ask you for it. Now just sit down and hush, let me do my job. But I can't brag about Mr. Osborne enough, and he's helped me so much along my way coming through here in Douglasville. But back to the crime. We have a problem with these guys coming out of Fulton, DeKalb, and Clayton. Over and over, if you don't believe me, just start reading the blog in the Sentinel of where these guys are from that we're arresting. And you know, one of the things we annexed, a lot of y'all may not realize, we police all the way down on Thornton Road now. Well, that's our safety valve, actually. When crimes are committed out here in this area and more in the inner parts of downtown Douglasville, if we can get a good tag and a description of a vehicle, we can get somebody down on 20, and that's how we get a lot of these guys. Another way that we're able to apprehend some of these bad guys that come out here and take advantage of our businesses and our citizens is the support of the community. We've got a lot more y'all eyes and ears out there watching that will call in and call 911, and that's very important that you do that. When you see something that you know is not going right, make that call to 911. Give us what information. Let us do our job to come out and check it out. That's why we're here. You know, we go through different spurts with different types of crime here in Douglasville. Copper theft, that's something that took off a couple of years ago. We're changing the ways we have to police because of the copper theft industry. Catalytic converters on vehicles. We've had incidents where people in broad open daylight have gone in Target, the mall parking lot, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They're going up underneath somebody's car with a sawzall and sawing off their catalytic converter. Now, when you walk out, unless you saw them coming out, you wouldn't know it till you fired your car up and it sounded like you was ready for a NASCAR race. And you'd be like, well, I know something's wrong at this point. But, you know, unfortunately, that's a very expensive crime for the victims. You know, we're talking $600 to $800 depending on the type of vehicle that you drive. And they're getting $70 or $80 for it because of the small amount of platinum that's in those catalytic converters. But overall, gangs, we deal with gang issues. One thing, my deputy chief's not here with me tonight, but we do Youth Against Violence. We teach that class every Saturday, a 10-week program that he has reached and touched a lot of young people in our community to try to teach them about the dangers of hanging out with the wrong people. And we see it happening time and time again. Normally I could take some of these kids out with me one-on-one, never have a problem in the world. They get up with the wrong cats that they think are their friends. Next thing you know, they're getting to spend some quality time with us. And maybe in some problems that nobody can fix for them. But the Youth Against Violence is doing a great job. I also want to remind y'all too that we still have our Citizens Police Academy. We're teaching that about 3 sessions a year, 10-week program. I encourage you to look into that if you're interested in what's going on in your police department. It'll take you through every department in the city police department. They'll show you the depth and the talent that we have over there on Fairburn Road at your police headquarters. Also, we still do our public handgun clinic. It is open every first Thursday of every night. It's free. Please come out. We've got a couple of our firearm instructors that we offer up about an hour and a half of classroom instruction and then take you down and work on the proficiency of handguns. That's just a brief topics. I'm going to hang around. We got a lot of things we're going to talk about tonight, but just want to hit the high spots for you. And one thing that I do want to do is let you know, look you in the face tonight and say, my job is to be here and make myself available for you. And I try to do that. I try to attend as many things as I can. I pass my cell phone out to everybody that I can. I keep this thing on 24/7. If you need me, I'm here for you. Please let me know how I can help. And if I can't do it personally, I got plenty of resources over at the police department that we can get you the help that hopefully to ease your mind a little bit. But thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. One thing I said we have an issue with Mr. Knowles, but we have a bigger issue with our chief. And we're working, trying to get through that with him, and but we really do have an issue that is a problem, and we're working to get through it. But he doesn't seem to have enough passion and commitment for the job, but we're working with him on a daily basis, and he seems to be working through it. But I say that, and I say it again, tongue in cheek. You see some of the passion that is there and exhibited by city employees. And I've lived in the city of Douglasville for 35 years. I wasn't born in Douglasville. I say I wasn't raised, really was kind of raised a little bit because along the years, kind of after 35 years, you grow up a little bit more. But I've lived here for 35 years, committed to Douglasville. Served on the city council once before, served on the city zoning board, served on the county zoning board, so have been involved, been committed to the city and the county for really the better part of 25 years. Back a few years ago, 14 to be exact, had an opportunity to relocate outside of Douglasville if I wanted to. But I chose to stay in Douglasville. I could almost throw a rock from here to my house. And 14 years ago, bought a little corner lot, subdivided, built 2 houses, kept one on the corner. At that point in time, I could have lived anywhere in the Atlanta metropolitan area to make a living. I chose to stay in Douglasville, in Douglas County. Fortunately, I've been able to retire, been retired for about 3 years now. Again, could live now anywhere in the country I wanted to. I choose to stay in Douglasville, in Douglas County, and I'm like the chief. Don't really plan on going anywhere. When my wife and I built the house that we live in, I used to joke about that my next move was either going to be the nursing home or the funeral home. And some folks said, well, you know, that's funny you say that because you're real close to both. But like I said, we're committed to Douglasville. As a matter of fact, when I was campaigning, I put out the better part of about 10,000 push cards with my platform. Had my picture on it. Some folks said, well, they didn't know if they'd have put the picture on it or not, but I chose to. But one of the things I also put on there was my home phone number, which is the same phone number that's been listed in the Douglasville phone book for the last 35 years. Even when I was serving on the council for almost 7, served as a P&Z board chairman, served on the county's P&Z board served on the cities for 5, counties for 7. Same phone number, listed in the phone book, easy to find, easy to get a hold of. And I, to this day, tell people, you want to get a hold of me, I'm easy to find at City Hall. Jenny sometimes will debate that. Sometimes I'm in and out, but between her and my wife, one of the two of them can track me down. But then also, that home phone number is there, and you need me, I'm committed. I'm 24/7, just like the chief said. You need me, you call me. Now, I would ask that if you got a barking dog or you want to complain about somebody's grass, don't call me at 3 o'clock in the morning unless the dog's trying to break in. And in that case, call 911. But then after that, you want to call and complain about it, I'll listen. But if it'll wait till the next morning, call and we'll talk about it. But I am committed and am accessible, easy to find. My home's about, 2 blocks from here or City Hall, and usually one of the 2 of those you can find me. So committed to the city, committed to you, the residents, to work to help make it a better place to live, work, play, raise a family. As a matter of fact, I've made the statement. Some of you have heard it. Some of you get tired of hearing it. But my thing is I want to help make Douglasville be one of the premier places in America. Live, work, play, raise a family, have a safe environment to do it. And some people say, well, you know, that'll never happen in Douglasville. Well, why not? Why can't it? What are we lacking to keep us from being that? I say nothing other than the right mindset and the right motivation to make it happen. Because we've certainly got the right people to be able to make it happen. It's just a matter of us believing we can do it. I believe we can. We're going to. The other thing we'll move on to is thank you, Chief. We'll move on to transportation, tell you a little bit about transportation. Some of you may know, some of you may not. There's a project that's ongoing that's been being talked about in the city and the county for probably the better part of 30 years, and that's the Highway 92 extension and widening. Where we are with that project right now, there's been approximately $95 million that have been committed to us by the federal government to help with that project. Currently, we're in the right-of-way acquisition for that project. Plans have been done, a lot of the engineering has already been done, and right-of-way acquisition is currently ongoing. Now, with that project, that $95 million, depending on who you talk to, as to where it is. We were in Washington back week before last, talking to our congressmen, our senators about the money, working to make sure that that commitment was still there. We're working with the state DOT to make sure that it's still there, and we're having ongoing conversations with them. And you say, what's so important about that? Transportation is the key to the development of any community. Making sure that you have the right transportation so that you can get people to and from work, but then also so that you can attract the right quality of businesses. We're working very diligently to do that. You get the right businesses, you provide more jobs, and we're working hard to ensure that that happens with transportation. That brings me to the next thing, economic development. We're taking a more active approach to development. And depending on who you talk to, some people say, well, you know, we don't need any more. And the last guy that comes in on I-20 wants to put up a gate. 35 years ago, when we moved to Douglasville, I-20 stopped out here at Highway 5. I tell that sometimes, and people say, how'd you get to Alabama? I said, you went on 78. And then they say, does 78 go to Alabama? I said, yeah, eventually. But when we came out here 35 years ago, we wanted to put up a gate and close it off. Then the next person, the next person. You can't stop development. You can't stop growth. You don't really want to. What you want to do and ensure is that you have controlled quality growth and development so that you're working to bring businesses into the community that will be good partners with the community, both within your government and with other businesses. We want good community partners that will work to help develop the quality of life that we all want and we're working to attain, and that will also provide the jobs that we need that will help make the community more sustainable. Like I said, Jeff wears a couple of different hats. One of them, he's just been appointed as the city's Development Authority Executive Director and brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to the job. So I'm going to ask Jeff if he'll come up and talk about economic development and what we're doing, where he sees us going.
Thank you, Mayor. And like the chief, I too grew up right here in Douglasville. I spent the better part of my life on Hospital Drive, A&W Nursery. It's where I first met Councilman Adams and his bride. And it was a great opportunity to grow up here in this community. And I say opportunity because really my parents could have raised me pretty much anywhere, just like a number of other people. But this is what I call home. I too, like the mayor, live about a stone's throw from here, and wouldn't live anywhere else in this state. I believe in Douglasville, like all the committed staff that you have up here. From an economic development standpoint, we're definitely committed. We have a lot of opportunities that are out there for us. Economic development is the engine that drives the revenue for the community. That's where most of the taxes come from. It gives you an opportunity to offset that property tax that the residents pay by bringing in the larger companies that pay substantially more taxes based on the amount of investment that they've put into your community. One example is Google. Google isn't necessarily in the city, but they're community partners. They're right outside of the city, here in the county, and they did receive incentives like a number of other large projects that come into the community. They've contributed about $500,000 to education in this community and keep contributing every single day. We're working with them on a project right now, right in downtown Douglasville, to create a wireless network right in our downtown area so that we can begin to grow like so many other communities have throughout the country and be on the forefront of technology so that we can give our residents the opportunities to partake in some of the things that Mountain View, California. We hear so much about that. It's the home of Google and the home of so many other tech companies like them. Specifically right here in the downtown area, and we try to tailor this to the people that we're meeting with. Tributary was a whole nother group of people, and they have a whole nother set of opportunities, but it is right here in Douglasville. But right here in downtown, we have a number of opportunities. Just right on West Strickland, we have a large property that we've been, I guess, honestly, just been waiting for the right person to come along. And like the mayor said, we are taking a much more proactive approach to that. We're not waiting for anybody at this point. We're out shopping these projects. We're out talking to the companies that we've identified from a very global standpoint, the type of companies that we want here in our community. We've got the jail moving out. I think everybody knows a lot about this wonderful 10-acre site we have right here in downtown at Douglasville, and you know, we are out actively shopping that site for the project that will make everybody happy. It's not that we're just putting it out there like a real estate agent and saying, hey, we've got some property for sale. That's not our intent. We've specified what we're looking for. We have a very strategic goal in mind, and we're out there every day trying to sell that project, and not necessarily just sell the land, because that's not what we're doing. We're trying to sell the project and the concept of the project to an entity that we can bring and be a part of our corporate community, because they're citizens no different than our residents. They bring to our community opportunities that go far beyond just their tax base and their presence here in this community. We hope to bring the kind of companies that become corporate citizens, that are sharing in not just their tax dollars, but also sharing in the opportunities for education, opportunities for grants, for some of our better projects that we have coming up in the community. And like Chris, I'm here to answer questions tonight, and we'll be here as long as you want to be here. I can be found at City Hall, not far from the mayor, at any given point in time. And my staff, Jenny can find me. Jenny knows how to track me down. She knows how to get the mayor. She knows how to get me. I think that's a trait that we all learn very early on, is how you track people down in city government, because we are very busy, and we're trying to keep up with the mayor. He runs a different pace. I can't say that I've really ever been around anybody that runs that type of pace and keeps those type of hours, except for Bill. But it's a new day, and we're excited to be a part of it, honestly.
Thank you, Jeff. Again, you can see the commitment, the passion that your city employees, and I say your because they are your employees, because you're the folks that write the check. You're the ones that pay the bills through your monies that you send via your taxes or permits or some other fees. That's how we generate our revenue. But we want to make sure that we're being good stewards of what you're entrusting us to do, and we want to make sure that we've got the right people that have the right commitment and the right passion for the job to give you what you want, to give you what you need and what you expect. And my wife will verify this, I'm a pretty simple guy. To me, it's not that complicated, in that what we all want as a community. But you want a good, safe place to live, work, play, raise your family, and have the economic opportunities that hopefully can be afforded so that you can stay within your community. And that's what we're charged with, working to see that you get provided. And truly, we're committed to that. You've heard some of the comments that have been made by some of the employees. There's a passion there, and there's a dedication there. And we're going to keep that up, and we're going to keep the pace up, because we want to make sure you're getting what you expect. Talk a little bit about what this relates to economic development. This is something that we are required to do every 10 years, but we're working to be more diligent with it, and that's planning for the future and where we're going as a city. The state requires all chartered cities to do what's called a comprehensive plan every 10 years. Our next comprehensive plan is due, I believe, October the 31st of 2013. We're starting to have conversations about the planning process. As a matter of fact, we have a day planned where myself, the council, and staff will be getting together one day. Bill, I believe it's October the 11th, where we'll be sitting down and talking about the planning process, where we want, with input from you, the citizens, to take our city, what we want it to be. We don't want to just go up there and let it happen. We're not going to do that. And we do something different by planning. And it's not something that the city hadn't been doing. Where the city is now is because of staff and past elected officials that have gotten us to a point where we are now. But we want to take and continue on that progress and make sure that we continue to give you what you want, need, and expect. Talk to you a little bit about city-county cooperation, and then that'll pretty much take up the topics I wanted to touch on, and then we'll open it up for questions. But city-county cooperation, that was one of the things that there was a lot of conversation had about while I was campaigning. Other council members were campaigning. You heard a lot about it. You read a lot about it in the newspaper. That was one of the things that I campaigned on, that we would ensure that we had good city-county cooperation. Now, does that mean we're going to always agree on everything? And it's not going to happen. It's just like one of the things that I said when I was campaigning. The woman that I've lived with, married to, for the better part of 35 years, and I know y'all are going to find this hard to believe, we don't always agree. And she says it's my fault. But what we do, and it may be different at your house. You know, you're married, you and your spouse and your kids, y'all may agree on everything. Well, that's not exactly how it works at our house. We don't have a lot of disagreements, but periodically we will disagree on something. But we agree to disagree, and we work it out because we've got the same common goal, same common objective in what we want to do and where we want to be. We need to bring the same thing to city-county government and relations. That was one of the things I campaigned on. We're doing that. Our county chairman and I have a good rapport, a good working relationship, and a good example of that is our recent lost negotiations. And you ask yourself, lost, what did they lose? Well, we really didn't lose anything, but that's an acronym for local option sales tax. Back several years ago, the residents of Douglasville and Douglas County voted to impose upon themselves a 1% or 1 penny additional sales tax on goods that are purchased within the city and the county. 1 penny. You think, 1 penny, what does that amount to? Well, I'm going to tell you, it's a lot more than you may think it is. But anyway, local option sales tax is where we get the acronym for LOST. And every 10 years, we have to renegotiate the distribution of those monies. There's state legislation that talks about how we do that, but it's a very complicated, it's a lot more complicated than I ever realized, process, and it's very time consuming. When I took office and our current administration, current council members, we took office, the negotiations had already been ongoing for the better part of what, Bill, 30 or 60 days? Yes. And we continued to negotiate, and at that point it was kind of pretty much a stalemate. But we continued to negotiate, have conversations, agree to disagree, and then we finally worked out an agreement that worked for all parties concerned. It was the county, city of Douglasville, who were the major participants in that, and then Austell was a very small portion, and Villa Rica also. But we were able to work through it, negotiate, and come up with a compromise agreement that kept us from having to go to court, spend more of your money, spend more time and energies that needed to be spent doing other things that would continue to give you the services that you want and need. So that was a part of the thing that gave good evidence of city-county cooperation and us working together. There are many other things that we'll continue to work through. Are we going to always agree on all of them? Probably not, but we've agreed to disagree, and like I said, the chairman and I, city manager and the county manager, staff, we have a good working rapport and a good relationship, and we are here to ensure you that that will continue. That kind of wraps up some of the topics that I wanted to get out there, talk to you about, discuss, give you a little information about. One other thing, not too far from here, most of you are familiar with and know about the current construction that's ongoing with the new conference center. Tell you quickly a little bit about it. It's roughly $14.5–15 million project. We are going to have the ribbon cutting for the parking deck portion of it October the 1st, which is next Monday at 11 o'clock. And that will enable us to have 300 additional parking spaces downtown. At this time, we're looking to take possession of the conference center itself on January the 14th. Is that right, Jeff?
That date moves around a little bit.
It's a moving date right now, but it's going to be on or about the week of January the 14th, give or take a few days. Now, let me tell you something about that project. $14.5–15 million project that's ongoing right downtown Douglasville. And as I told you, I'm a fiscal conservative. City's very conservative with its finances and monies. That project is 80% complete now, Jeff. 80% complete and on budget. And you say on budget is, well, if it's not on budget, and that we have, and a lot of times you see and hear about cost overruns with large projects. Well, guess where that money comes from? Comes from your tax money that you entrust us to manage and be good stewards of. So it's a very well-run project. Like I said, it's 80% complete, on budget, and Jeff oversees. I think Jeff may have some space over there that he may even spend the night over there periodically just to stay on top of it, but does a great job with that. But that just gives you an idea of what's going on with your city government, gives you an idea of who some of the staff are. I've introduced your elected officials, and at this time I'll open it up for questions.
I've got two. Hold on, Bruce. First one, kind of a minor, but, okay. Okay, I'll start again. Two questions. The first one, I'll direct to Jeff.
First of all, Bruce, if you will, if you'll introduce yourself. This is Bruce Campbell,
Okay.
and Bruce is
Should I
one of
stand up
our
and bow,
volunteers
or-
that's on Keep Douglasville Beautiful. Volunteers his time and effort on one of our committees or one of our boards and does a great job, I may add. So go ahead.
Okay. The first issue I have, the minor, but it's an irritable one, and that is coming out of the Walmart parking lot. At one time, I thought there was a discussion of doing away with the arrows in the right turn lane to go both directions.
And yes, Bruce, I did talk to you about that, and I've talked to a lot of different people about that. And we have a double left and then also a right. And we are planning on removing the left-hand turn out of the right-hand lane. I know it does cause some traffic congestion in that Walmart area. We haven't taken ownership of the project from the Georgia Department of Transportation. And until we do, I'm not changing anything the Georgia Department of Transportation does. But once they've completed all of the work, and you'll notice timing's changed just recently at that red light. Anybody that's used that red light will realize timing just recently changed because you could sit there for 90 seconds prior to it changing. Now, it's as soon as you pretty much get there, it's changing, and it's making Highway 5 run much more efficiently. But we are, as soon as we take full ownership of all the work that's done, we will be eliminating that double left turn congestion opportunity.
Could I ask, before you go to the next question, what sort of time before we take ownership?
I hope by the end of the year we're moving forward with that.
Yeah, I think you said you had two questions.
Yeah, but to follow up on the second one, if a private citizen were to go out and erase one of those arrows, what would be the result?
Chief Chris Womack.
You may want to talk to the chief about that.
I always know how to find Bruce. Now we have a suspect.
Did you have something else?
Yeah, not Jeff, no. But my second question, referring to the consolidation, shall we say, of city and county. I know for some time ago, the fire department, there were two separate fire departments and they came together, working on various things. But what departments would be coming up next in terms of combining, for instance, parks, community service, other things like that? Is there any kind of timetable, any talking about these various departments being merged?
Let me speak to that. First of all, is there anybody in the room that was, Bill, you can't answer, that was involved back probably 15, maybe 20 years ago when the city and the county, you were here then, weren't you, Bill?
20 years ago.
20 years ago, when the city and the county talked about consolidation, and that is merging of the city and county governments. Other than Bill, Jeff says he remembers it, but he wasn't with the city. I think Jeff was still in school. I was on the council then and was involved in that process. And we formed what was called a charter commission because there was a move at that point in time or interest to merge city and county government. Now, with the city and the county, Douglasville is the largest city within the county. There's a small portion of citizens, I think it's about 5,000 citizens that actually live in the county, but they're not, well, in Mirror Lake, but they're not city residents. So Douglasville is the city in the county. So there was a move to merge the two. We formed a charter commission, spent almost a year working on it, had focus groups, people. It was a very organized thing, and it was actually conducted by the Carl Vinson Institute of Government out of Athens. And at that time, there was a lot of conversation being had around the state with different entities about merging city and county governments. Columbus Muskogee did it. I think Athens Clark did it. Who else? Is that Savannah Chatham County did it? Those are the three in the state of Georgia that have done it. There's a lot of talk about, is it good, bad, indifferent, economies of scale, efficiencies, all of that. And every now and then in Douglasville and Douglas County, it comes up again. At this point, I'm not aware that it is a big move afoot to merge city and county governments. Now, but to address your question, is there conversation had about consolidation of different departments per se? Back several years ago, city had a water department, county had a water department. Merged the two of those. City had a fire department, county had a fire department, merged the two of those. As a matter of fact, the city and the county have an agreement that's coming up for renewal, and there'll be discussion on what we do and how we do with that. Those two were merged. We have an agreement with the county whereby they provide services, fire services for the city as well as the county, but there's certain agreements that go into that for that to happen. You mentioned specifically parks. Over the years, there's been conversation about, do we merge the two parks or the two park departments? We've gotten in the city's gotten into some discussions, pros and cons about that. Do we merge the two? Do we consolidate the two? Who takes ownership? Or does one merge the other? And at this point, we haven't felt that it's beneficial to the city residents to do that, specifically with parks. Planning and zoning, there's been conversation over the years about whether or not to do that. At this point, we don't feel that it's in the best interest of our citizens, you, to do that because of the services that we provide and you get. There is ongoing conversation about merging City Development Authority and County Development Authority. Back, Bill, what's it been now, 4 years ago when the city and county split? city and county, there was a county development authority, and for some reasons, the city chose to break away from that and form their own development authority. And if you like, I'll be glad to get into that after the meeting and tell you a little bit more in detail why that happened. There's currently conversation ongoing about the benefits to merge the two. And, well, we wouldn't actually merge the two. We would actually form a new city and county development authority. It's a very involved process. There's legislation that's involved, and we're having discussion and talking about that. Is it something we're going to do? At this point, I can't tell you we will or we won't. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to look at it and we're going to determine, is it beneficial to you as city residents and the betterment of the community and the county as a whole? If it is, and we can work out some details, then we may do that. But our number one objective and priority is to ensure for you as city residents that we look out for, protect your best interest and what's in the best interest of the city. Now, we all are county residents also. And I've said over the years, if it's good for the city, it needs to be good for the county. If it's good for the county, it needs to be good for the city. We need to work together to make sure that we have a good working relationship. But our number one priority is to the citizens of Douglasville as your elected officials, that we're looking out for your best interest and your best in the things that you need. And we're going to continue to do that. And if we can consolidate either through the formation of a new board or whatnot, then we're certainly going to do that. But at this point, parks, recreation, planning and zoning, any other departments, there's no talk on our part or activity on our part to do any of that, because we just don't feel at this point that that's what we need to do. Now, that's not to say that we're not open to discussion about it, but no, we're not doing that right now. Any other question? Yes, sir.
I've got several myself.
My name is Martin Elzey. I live in the Fairways. And what's the latest update on the Rose Avenue Extension traffic light up at Bright Star Road?
You're not talking about the one that if you sit there for 2, 3, 4 minutes, the light doesn't change?
This is where Rose Avenue Extension dead ends into Bright Star Road.
Oh, you're talking about what we're going to do there?
Yeah, what's the latest on that?
Nothing. No.
Okay.
No. As you know, that's been a source of contention with the city and the county for the last or the better part of 2 or 3 years. And we, through city-county cooperation, have been able to move that forward. And as a matter of fact, the city is now, it's in our ballpark. We're working to acquire right-of-way so that we can improve that intersection and be able to open it. There are some glitches with that as far as acquiring the right-of-way, but we are moving forward with it as quickly as we can within the legal process to do what we need to do to open it up. So it's not at a stalemate. We are working through it, and hopefully within, how soon? Jeff? I don't want to put Jeff on the spot with that because, but to tell you that we are working through it. There's no dissension or animosity between the city and the county. We are working with it. Like I said, the ball's in our court, but there's some right-of-way issues and things that we just have to do legally to get what we need to get done so that we can start then with what we need to do to get that intersection open. But it is ongoing and there is progress being made, and it's not a stalemate, and you're not hearing us talk ugly about the county or the county talk ugly about us. So,
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Next one.
Next question, or questions probably for Jeff. I'm probably not alone in my concerns for the sheriff property and what the plans are there, what you may have in mind. Primarily, I've been curious, are they vacating all the buildings?
Okay, I can talk to and address that. You're talking about the jail?
Yeah, and what possible ideas do you have
Okay.
for developing that?
There is conversation being had about the jail property. We're not just sitting there waiting until they move and then try to figure out what to do with it. Again, that's part of a negotiation process. And first of all, what would we do with it? We don't want to just buy it and it sit there.
Well, that was another question. Do we own that property, or is that county property?
No, it belongs to the county.
Okay.
Now, it's our understanding that they're going to vacate those premises, I believe, Bill, by the end of the year? They're going to start to vacate it, depending on how soon the new jail is ready and all, but that's the plan. They're going to start to vacate that building by the end of the year, start moving into the new jail, and those dates change a little bit, but that's the overall plan. We are having conversation with the county about what to do with that facility. Certainly, we as a city are very, very concerned and very interested in what happens. We don't want it to just be vacant, which that's not the county's intentions either. They'll find something to do with it, but is it going to be the best use of what we would want as the city? That's what we're talking about. So,
Are they open to selling it to us? Are they open to that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're open to selling it to us, but at what price?
Good.
We've had some discussion about that, and that's back to that thing I was talking about as far as us disagreeing. And really, what is something worth? What something's worth is what somebody's willing to pay for it. And at this point, they think it's worth a little bit more than we think it's worth. But we are having good, open dialogue about it, and we're not just sitting there, you know, waiting for it to come vacant or to see what the county's doing. So, but to tell you, and I'd rather not get into what we're talking about as far as what the plan may be if we acquire it or how we acquire it, but we are very active in looking at that right now.
Is that both sides of the street?
Do what?
Is that both sides of the street?
No, it's my understanding they're going to keep the Blake Gamble building,
Okay,
and they're going to use it for administrative
Yeah.
purposes.
Okay.
At this point, that's my understanding, and they're not planning on giving it up. Unless, Chief, you know something different, Mr. Osborne? So, next question.
How old is that building? Jail building? And I would assume that someone coming into that to even attempt to use it, there would probably be code issues.
There's a lot of issues that will need to be looked at. Is it something we can, well, certainly we couldn't, if we acquire it, we certainly couldn't use it in its current state.
Right.
There's a lot of things that would have to be done. Are there EPA issues? Are there, certainly, you know, they'd have to be remodeling, renovation, or would it need to be torn down? Those are questions that we're talking about right now, and they're ongoing, so.
How about the 911 center? Is that staying there? Is that moving?
It's going to stay right now, and I'm not sure. Well, I do know right now, I believe they've moved United Way in there, and I think United Way's, yeah, they've got United Way's actually renting it now. They've got as a matter of fact, they had a grand opening back here, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, but they're actually in it and utilizing that facility now.
Okay.
Mayor, is it your question, Marcus, is the 911 center on Club Drive, or are they moving it to the new location?
Yeah,
It's already.
they already vacated that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were wanting to know where they're going to move or do something with it. But 911 has moved.
Okay.
It's over behind the new jail,
Okay.
and it's up and running now. The county moved out of it, and then United Way moved in, and they're actually renting it to them now.
Okay.
So, sorry, misunderstood your question.
Okay.
What else?
I think that's it for now.
It's my turn. This is a citizen question. I'm always concerned.
Your name?
Jenny Zembruski. I live in
Okay.
the Fairways. And I'm always concerned with Church Street and going down the block and seeing, you know, places that go out of business. And I know the city doesn't own them, but as I head toward from Church down to Fairburn Road, things keep going empty. And I know we don't own them, okay, but it's an aesthetic look for downtown. And I was wondering how Jeff and his new department responsibilities, how do you convince new businesses to come in and that would be more vibrant along with our wireless and, you know, be more of a downtown that people really want to come to every day, not just the people that work downtown and stuff like that.
Okay, let me speak to that. And certainly that is an interest to us in our downtown area. We have someone on city staff that is responsible for working to get quality development in all downtown. And as a matter of fact, I believe currently is it 87 or 87% occupancy rate for our downtown area, which is very good. You go to some communities, they don't have that kind of occupancy rate. But that being said, what are we doing to help with that? Now, let me say this. It's not government's role to build companies, provide jobs. So you say, well, what is our role when it comes to economic development and moving people into those empty buildings or getting them to come? Our job is to help facilitate and create an environment that will be an incentive to companies to want to come to our community, to fill up empty buildings, to provide jobs for people. So what are we doing? As Jeff said, one of the things that we're working to do is put Wi-Fi throughout downtown. And you say, well, what good is that? Well, it does a lot of things. You look at it right now with technology and people looking for areas to relocate to. They want to make sure that they've got the current technology to be able to live, work, play, raise their families. That's a very important thing. We're in the process of doing that right now. We're having conversations with Google. They've committed to do some things. And not only are we going to take in Wi-Fi linear downtown, we're working also to do it within our parks at Jesse Davis as well as Hunter Park, so that we will make it or help make it an environment that businesses will want to come to. We're also looking at a new, form-based zoning, which is a new zoning process, that, if you will, to help to create an environment so that developers, builders will want to come to our community to develop properties, to develop businesses. It's probably, I guess, Jeff, what the newest thing in zoning now that's out there? You want to talk a little bit about that, if you will?
I can talk a lot. And I think
give us the 30-second summary of that.
Form-based is a far departure from what we're used to. Before, it was about waiting for a developer to come to you and telling you what they wanted. Now it's about telling the developer what you want to see and then letting them decide whether or not they can build that in your community. So it gives us the opportunity to build the roadmap for what we want to see, and then wait for the developer who wants to build that to come to our community.
It's a new way of zoning. It's a new way of looking at how we develop our communities and looking at what do we want our community to be and become 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. So to answer your question, we're doing a lot of things. We're planning, strategic planning, and doing things that would help facilitate, create an environment so that businesses would want to continue to come to Douglasville to fill up buildings that are currently vacant, or build new buildings and bring businesses that would be something that would be attractive to then attract even more. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Doris Moore. I live on Lake Forest Drive, right across from the high school. And I've got a project for Jeff, a good one. A lot of us seniors want to see a high-rise, independent living senior community here in Douglasville. Cobb County has 2 or 3. Carroll County has 2 or 3. Paulding County has 1 or 2. I've spent 3 weeks at a nice one in Dallas, and there's just nothing here. My husband passed away 2 years ago. I put my house up for sale, and I'm going to have to go to Dallas to find me a place to live because there's nothing here. I don't want another house. I want a upscale high-rise. We don't say high-rise for Douglasville. That's what, 4 or 5 stories maybe, or something, but that's all right. And to have all the amenities that go with that, have apartments to rent, you know, and just have really good facilities, like I'm talking about gyms, spas, dining facilities, and all in this high-rise building. and all of us seniors will spend our money here in Douglasville. Otherwise, we're going up to Dallas. And because a lot of them have talked about they want something like that, and we just have nothing here. We've got, we got assisted living, got 2 of those, and nursing homes, stuff like that. But what are the just independent living people gonna do? So you can put it down there where the jail is if you clean it up real nice. I don't care, but put it somewhere. But we want something.
Ms. Moore, you have very, very good comments and valid comments, and it's something that we are aware of. As far as we have an aging community, we have an aging population. Probably not most of y'all, but me included in that. So what do we do for our seniors? What do we do as far as facilities or communities within the community? And it's something that we are looking at. We've had discussion about. And that's a part of that zoning that we're working to establish so that we can create an environment to help facilitate developers wanting to come. Now, and like Jeff said, we're being very aggressive with going out there, working to locate the right type of developers or builders that we want to come to our community, and that's part of the thing with the zone-based, form-based zoning, so that we lay out a format for where we want our community to go. That's part of what we're going to be talking about in the planning meeting that we're going to have October the 11th. And along that line, in doing some of this, we had a developer that came from out of state to talk to us about, it wasn't a high rise, but it was an older, not an older community, but a community for senior citizens along some of the lines that you were talking about. But one of the things that he wanted us to do was to almost build it for him. And with some of the incentives that he was wanting us to grant and give to him, and over even a 30-year period. And what we do is we look at companies or businesses that want to come to our community, and there are some trade-offs when it comes to incentives as far as maybe tax abatement or things that we may do. But what we have to look at, we're no different than any other business, if you will. We have to look at what is that return on the investment, and are we going to give up more in incentives than we're going to get in return for the investment that's going to be made in the community.
County's got 2 or 3 built in their county, and we don't have any.
We're working to do that, and that's one of the things that we've challenged Jeff to do as a part of some of the development that we're looking for. We're being very active with it and going out and looking for those types, as well as several other types of developers. Yes, sir. And I said we'd run for approximately an hour, but I'll stay here as long as you want to ask questions. We had a town hall meeting last night that was at Jesse Davis Park, and I kept saying that, and we kept staying because people kept asking the questions. And that's what we're here for, to entertain your questions, reach out to you, communicate with you, but then listen to what you have to say to us. So, yes, sir, if you'll give us your name and your question, please.
Okay, since it's Christmas time.
I'm sorry?
Since it's Christmas time and everybody's asking, I've got a couple of questions. My name is Stephen Carter. I've been in Douglasville about 17 years. I'm a Rocky Top University of Tennessee graduate, so
we won't hold that
out there. But a couple of questions I want to ask. Seems like everybody's asking questions in pairs. One of my questions is kind of piggybacking off of what the lady just said. Has there been any consideration or thought? We talk about the area in the community being quality of life and things like that. Recreational facilities, has there ever been a thought of continue to expand that? I coach AAU on the side, and one of the things that gets me sick, I'm always traveling to Cobb County, I'm always traveling to DeKalb County, these nice sports facilities they have, and I'm always saying, man, We could do that here in Douglasville. Has there ever been a thought of, you know, you go to Swanee and there's this nice complex. You go up to Marietta and it's nice. And I understand that there's got to be some commingling in agreement with the county, city, and entrepreneurs. But just has there ever been a thought, we're looking at being a quality of life in a community. Recreation is a huge part. Cobb County's got a huge recreational type. So are there any thoughts?
Sure, and that's an excellent question. Good point. Have you been to our newly renovated Hunter Park?
I haven't, and I used to go there and ride the train when he was coming up, but I haven't. But I've heard it's very, very nice. I used to jog the obstacle course. So
let me encourage you to go out and look at the new Hunter Park renovation. It was a SPLOST project, Bill. How much was the renovation with the SPLOST dollars? About $8 million. And like I said, previous administrations and staff have worked to bring the city up to where we are now. We're working to move it even farther. But if you haven't been out to the new Hunter Park facility, I would encourage you to go out there. It will rival and better anything you'll see in Cobb County. It is an excellent state-of-the-art facility. So we do know the need. We are working to provide the need. But again, money, financing, entrepreneurial, but the city's work. How long was the SPLOST, that project, worked on before it actually came to fruition, Bill?
It was a 2002 splash, but we had a couple of times we had to start over because of the prep cost. In terms of, there are a lot of, as you know, a lot of underground springs and rock on the park that we had to do some redesign on to be able to get a good return on the investment, so to speak.
A lot of things the city is doing, has done already in the past to get us to where we are now. But we are continuing to, we hear what you're saying, recreation is certainly is a very important part of a community. People want to recreate. They want to have the facilities to do it. You have to be able to afford to do it. And then also, we will partner with private enterprise and businesses to do certain things. But there's a method that you have to go about to do that. So, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Coach Darrell Harrison, and I've been in Douglasville for 10 years now. Me and my wife, we left Atlanta to come here because Douglasville is a safe haven. And I was listening last night to, some of the things Chief was saying. And because where I lived in Atlanta, it wasn't nothing to see a kid 18 years old down the street and getting killed and seeing them laying in the driveway. And I see that every night when I was living in Atlanta. And then even last week, I go to church in Atlanta, and I mean, there's so much, like Chief said, a lot of people from Atlanta, the cab come out here committing crimes, because where I'm from in Kernersville, North Carolina, I mean, it's an inner circle. It's like Douglasville. Every white know everybody black that live there. You come in from Greensboro, North Carolina, Winston-Salem, committing crimes, you're not going to get out of Kernersville. And this is like Douglasville. And our commander-in-chief is doing a hell of a job here. I mean, and a lot of people don't give him the credit he deserves. I tip my hat to him. I mean, he's doing a great job. But something bothered me last night at the meeting. I really sat back and just listened to some of the council members who was saying about the youth, what they're doing. And I had a conversation with Mr. Bennett Oliver this morning and Joe McDonald. I've been doing camps at Jesse David's for 7 years, and I'm looking. I'm not in here for no credit. I mean, I do things because God put it on my heart to do. Help keep these kids over there out of jail. Do the right thing. Help them, because somebody along the way helped me when I was a kid. But when it bothers my spirit when I see people, they're charging a parent $5 to come in Jesse Davis to the games that was this guy doing, and they charging the parents $75 a kid. I think that's character, that's wrong, and he's taking credit for that. But Mr. Oliver knows about that. and Joe McDonald. I mean, they're friends of mine, Mr. Bennett Oliver, the director. And I was really bothered by that last night. And I talked with him, but it was some stuff in there, and then they asking you, can you help them? I'm like, help them for what? It's like a damn welfare line, excuse my language.
Easy,
it was
easy.
really, I'm sorry, but
okay.
it was really, I was offended by that. Because that was, I think people in there last night, they were just saying, some of the stuff, I'm saying, my God, you charging people. You're taking, what are you giving back to a poor community?
Right.
What are you giving back?
Well, let me
Yes,
say
sir.
this, and I do appreciate your comments and being here tonight, and compliments to the chief. And you and I have talked on several occasions in your participation in what you do to give back to the community, and I commend you for that. And that was one of the things that I said last night. When I campaigned, my little push card, I said I want to help make. I didn't say I was going to make Douglasville anything. I'm going to help make. It takes all of us working together, being committed to help make this the community that we want it to be. And one of the things that are the purpose for these meetings is to give people an opportunity to have a forum, whether we agree or disagree, to say what they want to say. Because as long as we can discuss and talk, we can work out whatever issues or opportunities we may have. Because that's what a community is about. Like I said when I first started this, families don't always agree. But it's okay. We agree to disagree. Our community, same way. So I applaud you for being involved. Thank you for that. Thank you for being at the meeting last night. Thank you for being here tonight. And I believe you brought some young men with you.
Yeah, they were good kids. They got, Neil Phillip and Mo Carter. They're being recruited by 7 different schools. They're seniors here in Douglasville. And they, got, tell me a GPA, folks.
3.5? 3.5. Congratulations. I commend you. Do what? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I commend you for that, because that's something, education is an important thing. And it's great to see good young people that are involved in sports, but not only sports, but see the need for being involved in education and getting a good education. Like I said, I know it's late. We've stayed a little bit longer than we said we would, but certainly you've had some good questions, good involvement. Anything else before we'll adjourn?
One perhaps quick question.
Yes, sir.
Perhaps you and Jeff, regarding the incentives that you offer to businesses. Are you being proactively putting out incentives, or are you basically holding back on those till you find out what the business is and what their intentions are? Is that something then that is negotiated?
Let me say this. It's two things. It's two-pronged. Then I'll let Jeff open up with that. We do have some incentives that are out there on the table. And, Jeff, I'll get you to talk a little bit about some of the incentives that we have that are out there that are very open and forthright, that incentivize people to come to Douglasville and come downtown. Then there are other incentives that are available, but you just don't come out and put them on the table right off the bat. That's a part of that negotiating that you get into. We're not going to just take and say we'll abate taxes, we'll abate this, we'll not charge you permits, without some negotiation that goes on. So those are things that are not on the table, but there are some things that are on the table and are very upfront right off the bat. Jeff, you want to talk a little bit about that?
We are active in our incentives. Our incentives are published. They were basically approved through an ordinance, and it's a matrix. You don't get that incentive just because. It has to be board approved, has to be approved by the Development Authority Board. But it's based on a matrix on the number of jobs and the financial commitment that you're bringing to the community, and it's a sliding scale. And it works for approximately 10 years, and in reinvestment it goes for 10 more years. Now, we're continuing to talk about some other types of incentives locally. Outside of that, there are tons of state incentives. There are a lot of opportunities to save money just by where you're located. City of Douglasville recently went through the Opportunity Zone designation, which gives us the opportunity to abate a portion of the state income tax for companies who hire more than 4 people. So a company grows, they hire 4 people. If they're located in the opportunity zone, they can abate the state income tax. It doesn't sound like a lot, but you hire 400 people, and it makes a big difference.
That answers your question. Okay, I'm going to take and adjourn. If anybody's got any other questions you'd like to ask, then I'll certainly stay as long as you like to stay. My wife has her own car. She can leave when she gets ready, and she said she was going to. But if you have any questions you'd like to stay and ask, I'll stay as long as you want. But before we do adjourn, I'd like to thank Gene Fields, who's the pastor here at Heritage Baptist Church, for taking his time to come and open this facility and allow us to meet. And we're glad that you allowed us to do that, and we appreciate you being here. And I applaud and thank each and every one of you as residents for being here. Like I said, it takes people working together to help make it the community you want it to be. You've seen the dedication and commitment from your employees, and I say your employees because they are your employees. And like I said, I appreciate everything that y'all do, appreciate their commitment. It's 8 o'clock. They're way past the time that they normally work, and they could be at home, but they choose to be here with you to communicate to you and help facilitate any questions or communications that you may have. Before I close, Bill Osborne is our city manager. Bill, you like to make any comments? Bill is very modest. He's very behind the scenes, but Bill is truly one of the greatest assets, as Chris said, that our city has. He's very passionate, very dedicated, very committed to the job he does. If you'll drive by City Hall, usually on any Saturday or Sunday, you'll see a gray Crown Vic parked out there, and he's in and out working and doing. And I say Bill is our city manager, but Bill is also my friend and confidant. Does a great job, and we appreciate what he does. And like I said, you don't find that kind of passion and dedication and commitment to the job that much this day and time. But you've seen it by all of these city employees, your council members, and your elected people. We're here to serve you. You got questions, you got comments, let me know. We're open, we're accessible, and we want to be available to you. So with that, unless anybody else has any conversation or questions or comments for the good of the meeting, we'll adjourn. I'll be here as long as you like to ask questions. Thank you. Appreciate you being here, and have a great evening.